ay katibayan at katibayan ng sitwasyon at ang kakayahang bumangon muli.
Yung ecological naman, the ability to adapt. Yung evolutionary resilience, Vale, to really innovate and be creative.
Resilience is really being able to spring back from adversity, but it should have learning, and therefore it strengthens you to be more resilient than before the adversity came to you.
Before COVID-19, the Philippines was already on to SMT-based measures to improve its resilience capacity. With COVID, the country was awakened to the need for resilience of our economic, health, and educational status as well.
The country as a whole is, I think, not so resilient because while we have the capabilities, the opportunities, and the resources to cope with COVID-19, the whole body is suffering because the leadership and management is not working so well. When it comes to individual resilience, those who have more resources, capabilities, and opportunities will be more resilient than those who are not.
A lot of the problems really may be interconnected, Vale. You have to look at it from a holistic point of view. It encompasses more than natural sciences or physical problem, Vale, but also it gets into the ecological, biological, as well as social panga.
Among issues and problems we have are poverty, ecosystem destruction, climate change, and variability.
Much of our attention is placed only after the disasters happen. What we should do really is to take early action years before the hazard strikes, and we should put our attention and our resources into that type of planning.
We need SMT-based transdisciplinary and inclusive approach to coping with possible hazards.
The fragmentation of society needs to be resolved for resilience.
Communication is very, very important, and we should communicate to the people using not just scientific communication means, but through arts, music, understand the mindset of the Filipino people so we can communicate better.
Well, the way to move forward is interoperability.
We have to do a lot of work as a person, as a community, and as an institution to really have resilience as one of the values of the Filipinos. Yung tunay na resilience na towards improvement.
Building resilience requires sustainability science inspired by transdisciplinary approach.
To be sustainable, you have to be resilient. To be resilient, you have to be sustainable.
Go natural, go with nature's flow. Non-structural or natural interventions, as well as good planning, is the most sustainable.
Finally, we need to harness and strengthen the Filipino spirit of bayanihan.
Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat and welcome to the 120th episode of the Filipino SDG Action Hour. Muli niyo kaming samahan sa isa't kalahating oras ng hitik na impormasyon at mga bagong kaalaman. So ating alamin ang topic na pinamagatang Beyond the Horizon, the Balangay Legacy, Our Maritime Roots, and the West Philippine Sea. So we will be joined by a renowned Filipino explorer, environmental advocate, and former government official admired for his leadership in mountaineering and the revival of the country's maritime heritage. He served as Undersecretary of the Department of Transportation and Communication, or DOTC, from 1996 to 2004, and later held the same position at the Department of Environment and Natural Resources. In 2007, he was appointed as the Special Envoy to the Middle East, and during his tenure, he promoted initiatives focused on environmental conservation and the development of transportation infrastructure. He also played a vital role in the historic ascent of Mount Everest by the first Filipinos in May 2006, which is a milestone that symbolized the strength and determination of the Filipino people. He is widely recognized for spearheading the Balangay Voyage, which is a groundbreaking expedition that retraced ancient maritime routes using replicas of the pre-colonial Filipino boats. Through his endeavor, he promoted national pride, environmental awareness, and a deeper understanding of the Philippines' rich seafaring heritage. His work continues to inspire future generations towards cultural preservation, exploration, and honor their heritage, emphasizing the importance of unity, resilience, environmental stewardship, and sustainable development. So for this afternoon, let's all welcome Mr. Art Valdez.
No, let me. Thank you.
Yes, sir, Art.
Such generous, medyo mahaba yung introduction mo sa akin. But maraming salamat. Well, I'm honored to be invited by Future Earth and to interact with the mostly looking at it, the academic community involved on preservation of Mother Earth. And I've been given the task, of course, Dr. Cruz invited me to be a part of your activity tonight, this afternoon. And the topic given to me is Beyond the Horizon, the Balangay Legacy, our Filipino Maritime Roots, and West Philippine Sea. So medyo, it's quite really a challenging topic, but I think what I will relate to you today is my own experience that has something to do, can relate from our, let's say, from our roots as a maritime people. The experience that I have in the Balangay have given me chance to know more that even the possibilities that we can explore. And so what I will do today is show you a PowerPoint presentation of what I've been doing. But basically, it is how the experiences that I have that I can share with you that will relate into this maritime roots and the West Philippine Sea. So on that note, I'll start with my PowerPoint presentation. Well, the topic that I have today is about, of course, what you see is about the West Philippine Sea, the Balangay returns to the West Philippine Sea. But I think before that, since today, what is trending is about the Mount Everest. So maybe it's an opportunity for me also to clarify to you about what happened and why we did it. And I know along that if something happened in Mount Everest, even when we climbed it at that time, I know kung may namatay, yun ang medyo balitang-balita. So, when we climbed it that time, Romy Garducci was being promoted by GMA. But I told Romy, why don't you join us? We have set up everything already because I'm confident about generally a calibrated effort of the safety of my climbers, but I just want to be sure that none of us will have some accidents up there in the mountain. So anyway, the rest is history. I'm just simply presenting to you, these are the Filipinos who made it first time at Mount Everest. And then the next year, Filipinas, these are all summit pictures that they have. The real challenge there is that partly no one has climbed Mount Everest among Southeast Asian people, women. So I thought of why not we started it from Tibet, because in Tibet there's a clearing about 1 week to 10 days ahead, just to be sure that we will be there. Mga Pilipino will be there ahead. So we planned it out, but finally I decided, why not we just cross the mountain? If you go up into the mountain, you go down in the other side. And to that effect, this is how it is. The slide, the picture on the left side is the north. Then you go down on the right side, that's Nepal. They formed this first Filipinas, top, Mount Everest.
Sir, interrupt ko lang po sa sir. Nag-present po kayo ng PowerPoint?
Ano?
Sir, may PowerPoint po kayo, sir?
Oh, I'm doing it. Lumalabas ba? Hindi.
Sir, hindi po.
Hindi lumalabas?
Hindi po, sir. Sir, dapat i-share po natin itong share sa gitna po.
Sorry. Share. Okay. Yes. Can you see it now?
Ayan po, sir. Yep.
Okay. So,
then, sir, yeah.
Okay. So briefly, I'll just go back, mabilis lang. Itong first Filipinos, then the women made it, made the first only traverse, but very challenging ginawa nila. The first Filipinos, the top first Southeast Asian, first women in the world to traverse. And then yung isa, the youngest, because si Janet, kapanganak lang ng December of 2006, by May 16 to 2007, nasa tuktok na. Anyway, you'll just make it quick. You'll be wondering why we did it. Well, ginawa ko yung Everest as a symbol. It was a stage for the message that I'd like to accomplish. Na kaya ng Pilipino kahit ano, basta mayroong teamwork, mayroong unity, at may pinagsamahan. So the Everest was simply a stage. It was the real symbolic summit was what Filipinos can do. So that's the reason why so much publicity. I engaged all the broadcast media, public engagement, and the national support, because that's the only way to learn about what we're doing, because I'm sending a message. Of course, we would like to be there on top, but the real message of what we have done is the journey of teamwork, the journey of unity. And Everest is incidental that we reach up to the summit. So, ang nangyari nga, the summit was never the end. It was the beginning of a message that continues to inspire. Yung kaya ng Pinoy. So, I'm just making it brief dito. Of course, the next year, we were not content, 2008. Ako yung nagkikerry ng bandila na yan. Tumakbo kami ng Everest Marathon. That's about 26 miles up there. This picture was taken by a Nepali photojournalist, nanalo ito sa photojournalism. So, but what I'm just trying to express about this Everest climb, there are two ways of doing it. National team, which we did. The earlier climbs were all national team, but later, the enterprising people saw that they can make business out of that. So ngayon, yung commercial climb, may pera ka, and you think na malakas ka, sali ka doon, bayad ka. It ranges between minimum 30 to 100,000. Yung 100,000, parang you have all the amenities, meron kang warm tent, meron kang Wi-Fi, etc. But of course, it varies. So anyway, it becomes a big business. And that's why the many challenges there, it costs, but it democratized going up. It costs, the traffic jam, yung tao doon na pumipila until they run out of oxygen, mamamatay. Yung environmental degradation, and of course, you reduce the impact and the MS of the Everest. But that's how it is right now. And I think anywhere they're trying to do it. But during our time, we try to establish something that Everest was only a symbol of what Filipinos can accomplish. Actually, malaking impact nun eh. On that year, 2007, yung survey ng SWS, the Mount Everest expedition was the third most read news of the day. Nalalo kami ng Grand Anvil Award. Parang Oscar yan sa mga media practitioner. Because there was a media handler doing all of that. The purpose there is really to make an impact. And ituro mo sa ating mga kabataan na only when we have teamwork and unity, the impossible becomes achievable. So, after that, itong Mount Everest na kuha ng major news event of 2006. Tinalo lang kami ng evacuation of Lebanon and then yung Typhoon Milenio. So, the Filipinos nakita na ko something positive. So, scientifically, in a certain way about accomplish my objective of capturing the imagination for people. Yung sayang lang, sana ang institutions and even government should have picked up of building up that kind of momentum of only through teamwork, kaya ng Pinoy, we can do anything. So with that, still carried away by the momentum of adventure, so from the mountain to the sea. So I was thinking, what's next? Nabasa mo yung Mark na naging special envoy ako to the Middle East. Sa totoo lang, nagpa-appoint ako kasi sabi ko, kaya nagpa-appoint akong special envoy so that I can make network with the different countries there na madaling-madali. But then suddenly, I changed my mind. What am I trying to do? Hindi maintindihan, nahirapan na nga Philippines in the Sahara. So finally, I changed my mind. So sabi ko, why not trace the migration of our forefathers? Where did we come from? At ano yung kanilang sinakyan? So from the mountain to the sea, so yun ang nangyari. Then pumasok itong Voice of the Balangay, A Journey into History. So I looked into and made some study into it, but you know, what I did is go to the National Museum, sabi ko, I'm trying to trace the migration of our ancestors, where they came from. And then the kind of transport that they used. But who can build that kind of transport? But anyway, going back, I found out that, originally we are until now, we're Austronesian-speaking people. And we came from the mainland of Asia, which is now the present southern coast of China and northern Vietnam. And sometime during the Middle Age, when they have better and bigger tools, they leverage their skills because they are coastal people. They leverage their skills and built up bigger boats. And from there, boats like the Balangay. And then started one of the grandest migration of people. I think the migration by the Austronesians to the vast Pacific Ocean and Indian Ocean was one of the biggest migration of people. And I have that kind of experience that, of course, they bring their family. I have that experience that when you started to sail out, when you find a place that is abundant, friendly, and hospitable, you stay. And I think that's what they did. Of course, there are two prominent theories about this migration. You have Peter Bellwood of Australia onto Taiwan, and you have Professor Wilhelm Solheim of UP. As a matter of fact, I got lucky. He was still alive when I brought him and see that I'm building the boat. What he's talking about, the Nusantao Maritime Transportation and Communication Network. So he was still alive. I brought him when I was namamanday ako. But of course, as I said, when I tried to build this boat, I asked National Museum, how can I still build a boat like this? They told me, sir, wala na dito. Kung gusto mong magpagawa niya, nahanap ka ng panday galing sa Batanes, yung mga Tibetans, you still have that culture. For those who have gone to Batanes and you ride that single hull boat and you think you get so scared with the big waves, but that boat is sturdy. Or you go to, sabi niya, or you go to Tawi-Tawi, yung mga Sama tribe. They're popularly known as Badyaw, but the people in yung mga Sama tribe, they don't like to be called Badyaw. Because the Badyaw had come out with a really negative connotation. But those are the people. So I went to Batanes, to Tawi-Tawi, and what happened was that I brought them to here. Of course, there's the migration of the Austronesians. They have covered the vast. They went as far as west in Madagascar and east as Easter Island. But I think they have gone even further than that. And gone New Zealand, and Australia. Yung mga tools na nakita, I mentioned that they have done. But I would say that the world is relatively warmer and weather, so your chances of reaching your destination is much better. But this is how it is from the On to Taiwan of Bellwood and Professor Solheim. We have spread over the vast Pacific, in spite of those maybe converging or different kind of theory. What they all agreed at the center of that is the Philippines. And I think that is really how pivotal. Look at strategic location of the Philippines, even in the present geopolitics, modern geopolitics. We're at the center of the most progressive region of the world. So in earlier times, we were also the center of migration. Bellwood and Solheim agreed that we're the cradle of this great migration. And people stayed here. As I said, our ancestors, when they find the place, hospitable, friendly, generous, and plenty food, they stay. But if otherwise, they started to move on. I have experienced that in my travel around the Philippines, Southeast Asia. When the place I found that very warm, I stayed longer. But if the place is, on the other hand, it's different, I just move on. So that is the movement of our Austronesian forefathers. So what's the voice hope to achieve? Well, primarily, what I would like to do is, because we have to reconnect our proud history. Ano yung sabi dito, hindi lumilingon sa kanyang pinanggalingan. That's what Rizal said. So the only way is that we have to identify and go back to our roots. Because the whole exercise I did is to stir maritime consciousness. And sadly, we have lost, or we don't have that kind of strong ties anymore to our proud maritime heritage. So, it's doing parang reality TV, by doing it in real life, I'll be able to talk especially to the young. This is who we were at one time in our history. We are the proudest and the bravest, and everybody get just simply scared of us and the whole region. It shows really on the pintados of the Visayans when they regularly raid the Fujian province, China, in those early days. The other thing that I would like, of course, here is the rekindle maritime consciousness, and only also to discover that we have a thriving and well-developed boat building industry during these pre-colonial days. What happened to that? I asked national news, why nobody knows how to build that boat anymore? And why only at the fringes of our country, in the north, the Ibatans, and the Sama tribe? Because they said colonialism has not gone that far in terms of controlling the periphery of the archipelago. Well, we are centered here. What they did is really direct our carpenters and boat builders, you build the galleon. So we become galleon builder, and they've forgotten slowly the boat building culture that had been handed through generation. But the people of Tawi-Tawi, no plans, no naval design, no naval architect around, simply handed through generations. And all you have to do, I'd like to build maybe 22 meters, and this wide, maybe about 4 meters, 5 meters, and I'll tell you, they'll deliver it to you without any plan. And they measure the whole thing, mata-mata lang, mata-mata. But the other thing I'd like also to push through is this guy, Enrique de Malacca, his Malinay's Panglima Awang. His right to place in history as the first navigator of the globe. Magellan got him from maybe Malacca, but definitely from this region, and brought him to Spain. And afterwards, in 2019, he started to sail. He came from this place, and he's brought him to Spain, and then sailed around the world, and then came back here. He's the first circumnavigator. But, our people are not good script writer. We didn't record our accomplishment. So the guy, Sebastian Elcano, whatever's left on their crew, is the one that is hailed as the circumnavigator of the globe. But it is a Malay. In Malaysia, in Terengganu, they have a big statue there for Panglima Awang, and it looks like Lapu-Lapu of ours, yung statwa natin doon sa Cebu. Ganon din siya. Indonesia is also claiming him. Si Carlos Quirino said he came from Sogbo. He said wherever he came from, but he's a Malay. And he should be recognized as the first circumnavigator of the globe. It's the European, just to show to the Europeans that while they have the skills later because of their tools, we were the master of the seas in our region. So, what is the Balangay? Of course, you know this, it is a boat joined together by teams and dowels. It was excavated in Butuan, 320 AD. Of course, there's another one that it is much, much later, but whatever it is, it showed that we have this boat building culture way, way, way back. Actually, I brought you, this is the process of building a boat. From the tree, you have the wood patterned into planks, you have the keel, and then you have the panulong or the bow, wooden bow, and then ultimately you fashioned it after the other with planks and really primitive tools. And they bend it, they warm it. Minsan may fire and they hang it around so that it can bend. And they use for waterproofing itong mga roots. Yung mga how do you call it? Those parang yung mga how do you call it? Sticky things that can be found in the forest. Mix it with coconut, and then they use the plant. Somewhere on the right side, those are the tools that they use, like a tomahawk. Until now, in boat building, yun pa din ginagamit nila. And amazing. Actually, when I built that boat in the Cultural Center of the Philippines, they were my partner. Nga natapos yun, masaya na ako eh. I was too happy. I said, well, I built the boat together with the National Museum. Chris Santiago is one of those, he passed away already. And Luis Bologna, they were there really to help me build this boat. And I was so happy when I built this boat. Actually, I did not even think about sailing it. Sabi ko, okay na, nakagawa na ako ng tunay na balangay. But then, this is how they were building the boat. And we have to be quick. This is the first plank. This the traditional way that our forefathers built the boat is shell first construction. Yung frame, which is the present one, yung common, yung may keel ka, pagkatapos you put up the ribs or frame, and then put up yung mga planks. Yun ang frame first. But ito, shell first construction. So, I hammered the first plank into the keel. I think this was something in 2009. Left side is Leo Oracion, the first Filipino to climb Everest. Yung sa nakatayo dyan, yung si Noel, yung the first Filipina to reach the summit. So, this is what the National Museum dug out in Butuan, and this is how it looks when we're building a road. We try to be faithful as much as we can. Yun ang comparison. Try to be faithful. That is the legacy that our forefathers had passed on to those Badyaos o sa Madilaya. And this is the kind of yung waterproofing and how they put and stick it together. So this is how it looks like. And then, of course, last, wala, yung Cabo Negro, yun ang ginagamit nila. But when I try to really come out with a rope made of Cabo Negro, cost a fortune and really difficult to do that. But rather than rattan, Cabo Negro ang ginagamit nila. Yung ginagamit sa kuan, yung floor polisher, yung matigas yan. Yan ang Cabo Negro. That's what they did. Okay? And this is the pegs. Yun ang ginagawa nila. And really built it the way. And the tools, those are the tools. Still a traditional tool. This tool can do everything. Chisel, maging cutter ka, pati mag-curve, pati, name it. It's a do-it-all tool. Ang tawag nila doon, patok. Patok, this patok. And that is sipit. This is how when they try to put together na mag-hold and mag-curve yung planks. Kung masyadong matigas, they started to warm it and hang it. But generally, after that, this is what they're using. They call it sipit. And itong kanilang waterproofing, pick up. This waterproofing, galing pa ito ng Sabah. Kasi yung mga nalalaglag na mga bunga ng parang sticky, and then they boiled it together with the coconut. Ayan ang labas niya. And itong aming anchor, because the boat must really be supposedly traditional. The problem with this anchor, hindi makahold maigi ito. But I think before their boats were not really that big because they don't have the kind of anchor that we have. And ang iron, it was really very important para sa kanila. That is what we use. But I changed that because on a rough sea, hindi siya makahold eh. Ito dot-dot, waterproofing yan. This waterproofing. And this now, slowly, the boat turning really beautiful balangay. Now, it's almost ready. What a beautiful object that they really have built. Ako masayang-masaya rin ako when I saw this eh. Sabi ko, tama na ito. But I was not content. This was at the CCP Cultural Center, but now the Philippine Sailing Team is using it. And this was when ultimately we have to put it in the water. See how high? Wala akong slipway. So that was the real challenge. How do you put this boat into the water? So anyway, this is how it ended up. it jumped into the water, and I prayed when I cut that rope, Lord, please don't let my boat turn into a balangay submarine. Because tinan mo naman yung distance ng ground dyan, yung bank of the Mississippi into the water. But it jumped. And then perfectly, itong bow niya simply kissed the water, and stern niya kicked, and then it simply floated perfectly. Unbelievable. So, we have no boat in the water. So how do we be able to sail this? Because none of us were sailors. But puro lakas loob, nagpaturo kami sa yacht club one day, paturo kami sa Navy one day, and the monsoon wind is changing, mag-anihan na, and our aim is to go south. So I told my crew, ibali na, we'll learn how to sail along the way. Because I said, seafaring is in our DNA. That's the impact of our maritime forefathers who sailed these great bodies of waters through their own instinct, bringing their families to foreign shores and ending up in a place, some of them ending up in a place like the Philippines. So how beautiful it floats. That's how it was. So after that, here it goes. Of course, I built sails of different kind. Merong crab claw sail, merong lug sail. And these are the boat builders that I brought from Tawi-Tawi. You know, when Ambassador Christie was here, she loves to go there. She hangs around while we're building the boat. Ang ambassador ng Canada was also there. I got a lot of foreign from the diplomatic community visiting me as I was building the boat. And Ambassador Christie was the most popular of them all. And of course, after that, since we learned how to sail, took us about 3 months to reach Mindanao with nothing. Wala kaming mga GPS, wala kaming mapa. Yung mapa plan namin, yung road map of the Philippines, yun lang ang mapa namin. Wala kaming mga tools. Sabi ko, in a way, this is how our forefathers did. We learned it along the way. Then we started, of course, we navigated at night by celestial navigation. Of course, to find out our way, kung saan na kami, nakita ko mga isda, magtatanong saan na ba ito? And then they gave us, of course, nandun sila sa tabi namin because it became so popular. Ito bang balangay? Yes, I said yes. So they said, ito, kuha na ito, Masbate. So diretso lang kami, going south. But this is the picture when crossing Singapore Strait. We were crossing there. We were not allowed to cross by the traffic vessel officer, PTMS, Vessel Traffic Management officer there. They asked us about IMO registration. They asked us about many other things that technically a sailboat or a boat for that matter needs to comply. I said, none. So, because I was requesting them to cross the channel because thousands of boats, so makita mo sa background, people over there. Finally, they relented because I called up our ambassador, and Dimitrios, this is a cultural boat and it's going to cross from Batam, Indonesia towards Singapore. So finally, we crossed. When we crossed, kasi at that time, finally, mabuti nga San Miguel sponsored us. Kasi yung aming resources hanggang Pilipinas lang eh. So wala pa kaming na Pilipinas, ang sale namin wala pang brand. So merong San Miguel na logo na yan. When we're crossing it, you know, knowing that practically every ship may Pilipino dyan, yung aming radio, discipline nag-crack. May tumatawag, gabayan. Meron tingin ng San Miguel beer dyan. So they were asking beer because they thought we had plenty of that. Because we did, but difficult. So, well, the map of the Philippines is that we have crisscrossed this country, just like what our forefathers did. The eastern side, the western side, the center several times, going down south. Di lang makita yung mga ruta namin. And then Southeast Asia. After that, there's a line here. We went around. I think I have There's something to say. So, yeah, I think I have this. So from here up to here, I was trying to move forward to go to Shanghai. Because sabi ko nga, punta tayo doon sa World Expo. I don't know what economic activity at the time. This was 2010 already. But you know, I think I will have a tough time kung dumaan ako dito sa Hainan. Itong Hainan is the most, but at the time, medyo okay pa. So, but suddenly, this was almost 2 years na my crew was exhausted, homesick. Sir, pwede ba umuwi na tayo? Kasi papuntang Pasko na yun eh. So I understand. Finally, I decided. Plus, ang monsoon wind, amihan na. So, if we go up there against the wind na yan eh, we cannot. So I said, okay, we go home. My plan was to cross this from Vietnam. I-cross ko na ito. Of course, when our embassy learned that I'm going to cross it, they were scared, frantic. Sabi na, you know, the Chinese will not allow you. Sabi ko, why should they not allow us? We're a sailboat. We will just go ahead. But you know what stopped me from crossing this body of water, ditong mag-shortcut? Yung amihan masyadong malakas, ma-broadside kami pag ang hangin going this way. And broadside is difficult. Baka tumaob pa kami. Finally, I decided again to go back. May cover dito. And that's how finally came back to the Philippines, tamang-tama lang. Well, along the way, we did many things. As we stopped in every places around the country, we have medical mission, school convocations. We showed to them what we can do if we work as a team. And we told them that yung Balangay is like Pilipinas. Iba't iba kami, iba't ibang reliyon, may Islam, may Kristiyano, may Protestante. Ang nagalit kami sa iba't ibang lugar. But the only way we can reach the next destination is that we paddle together. We work together. So yun, that's the kind of, the thing that will perk up and enlighten your heart when you see this crowd of young students. Nag-lecture kami, sa tubig kami, doon sila. This is in Concepcion Island across Pinamalayan in Mindoro. Ito naman sa Masbate. Those are different places and the yung thirst nila to know more about us. Of course, classroom was there, but iba yung parang real life. Of course, pagdating namin doon, lalo na pagbalik namin, daan kami ng Antique, di ba? Yung supposed to be yung myth about the 10 datos, about si Dato Puti and the rest. Pagdating ko na doon sa Hampik, I was so dark, so I told them, it's not Dato Puti, Dato Itom. I reached the shore, and they were all laughing. And everywhere, this is the thing that give us the energy. You know, if you stay whole day with all the heat, with all yung init, ganito, you're really exhausted. But when you see these young people waiting for half day for you to arrive with flaglets, mawala yung pagod mo. At times, they are waiting, we're late. Because siyempre, hangin lang. So, nakita ko na yung mga bangka ng isda. So, I told them, how much are you making ngayon? Sabi niya, sir, ganito, pwede bang hilahin nyo kami para mabilis tumating kami doon sa next destination namin? Kaya minsan nagpapahila lang kami because tumatawag na yung mga advanced team namin, sir. Kawawa yung mga bata, sir, they've been here for half day. So, but these are the things that really give us the kind of spirit. And for the first time in my life, I never been welcomed. Alam mo, hanggang gitna ng laot, sinusundo kami, may banda pa. Somewhere doon sa Buanga Peninsula. Sinusundo kami ng banda sa gitna ng laot. So these kids, we taught them kaya ng Pinoy. So they're all shouting kaya ng Pinoy. But we did not only have this adventure. Dito, every places we do coastal clean up. These places in Dumaguete, yung sa taas. Ito, iba't ibang lugar na punta namin. Nagtatanan kami ng mangrove along the way. And we educated our people. Sabi natin, this is a beautiful country. Actually, sa totoo lang, I'll tell you, the Philippines is a paradise. I've been in the fringes of this beautiful country. And what a beautiful place we have. Because magugulat ka lang, mga foreigners na nakapag-asawa ng Pilipino, are the one owning it. Anyway, yung hanggang radio, nandun kami. Kasi dumating kami sa Cebu, we have to explain to the people. Because, you know, ang in-explain ng media na this is one ng Spanish time. You know, we're even there before Spanish. Sabi na ganito mang galyon. Sabi no, this is not galyon. This is the balangay, these are both. And I told you that along the way, we treated people, nanggagamot kami. Yan si Dr. Ted. At the time, was still with the Coast Guard, yun ang famous Dr. Ted, expedition doctor namin. Ilang karton din yung mga gamot namin. And along the way, we treated people. We did medical mission. And we did real rescue people. Ito, may mga, dating kami sa Zamboanga area, may mga barilan ba dyan? Ang mga tinamaan, ginamot pa namin. But if you stay in a place longer, we conduct disaster management lectures and drills. That's what we did. Ito, actual ito. We're saving people also with, yung sa lower picture, itong frame na ito, nalulunod na siya. And of course, there's plenty of fish. Now, this one looks like me, but we caught a lot of fish because for our food, we did a lot of fishing. So, but it was not always fun. It was not always smooth sailing. Nakita mo itong ganitong alon. I've seen more than enough of that. So if you have to ask me, will I do it again? I will have to make second thought. Kasi we experience may mga lugar na hindi mo na maintindihan kung saan ang direksyon ng mga alon. But we encountered really big waves. We encountered storms. Yan, makikita mo ito. What is left is the mast. So, while we're doing all of that, we have to go through what goes along when you go through the sea. Even stormy seas, that's part of it. So, and then, of course, to celebrate yung 700 years travel of the Sultan to the Ming dynasty. So ito ang aming I brought the boat in Sulu, exactly from the Sultan of Sulu, and they sailed it to China. Of course, at that time, we're really welcome. But there were Coast Guard ships along the way dito, tinitingnan din kami. But we're a flotilla. And when we arrived there, they were shaking their heads. We have really a warm welcome by the Chinese government. Ito ang tomb of the Sultan. Sultan died there. He was not able to come back. Finally, I told my team, we better go home. I know not the reason why the Sultan died. Overfeeding. The Chinese will feed you to death. So I said, time to go home. Kung hindi, baka paliw tayo ng Sultan din. So finally, we decided. Of course, at that time, we visited our embassy. Si Chito Santurmana was still alive. Of course, it's the famous sign because Chito did that and the rest. So we have to do former sign. And at the background, of course, we're coming home. That's Hong Kong. And this coming back into Manila Bay. We're a flotilla. Look at how beautiful yung ating mga sakyan. And then along the way, ito nga, in every places we taught our people even internationally. In the South China Sea, South China Morning Post were the cover story when we're there. And it was really a good platform to tell a story that seafaring is in our DNA. As a matter of fact, before coming home, I was invited to give a talk in Xiamen University, and I think mga graduating and graduate students. So, because they were shaking their heads how we managed to write. But I told them, so give a lecture, give a talk, and then I said, what tribe do you belong? Oh, the Chinese belongs what? We're Han. Oh, you're Han. And where's the natural home of the Han? Oh, around Beijing. Oh, Beijing. And where is Beijing? It is in the north. Okay? Who's the greatest sailor? Admiral Song Ha. Okay? Admiral Song Ha. How did they learn how to sail? Because there's not much water in Beijing. He must have gone to the coast. Yes, they said they have gone to the coast. And who are the people he found near the coast? So they don't know. They said they cannot say Hans. They are Austronesians. They were my forefathers. In short, Admiral Song Ha learned how to sail, learning it to my forefathers. Medyo nagulat sila. Because they really heralded Admiral Song as a great sailor, navigator, but belong to the Han, with Han origin. They live in the north. The only way to learn to sail is you go to the coast. And who are the people on the coast? Those are our ancestors. Those are our proud maritime forefathers who started to move out into the vast Pacific and Indian Ocean because of the pressure of the Han population that is expanding. So anyway, that's my book on that Balangay voyage. We tried to work it out to make it as a national boat. Nakapasa na sa lower house. Pagdating sa Senate, medyo nagka-problema. So what we did is that everywhere we go, we challenged everyone to join us in this voyage. Itong Everest team, itong original. You join us into this voyage because this is how we can really be proud of as a people. And so recently, especially with the big issue about the South China Sea, the West Philippine Sea, I decided I have to go to the West Philippine Sea, especially in Tito or Pag-asa Island. But I can only go there. I said, I cannot go there riding in a yacht. I cannot go there riding on a Navy or a Coast Guard. I cannot go there riding on a speedboat or much more but jet ski. I can only go there riding in a Balangay boat. Because the Balangay boat is the symbol that we were here much long time ago, even ahead of the claimants that is trying to say that we have this ancestral and sovereign rights. These waters are the playground of our forefathers. Because it's only the 10th century that during the Song dynasty that the Hans tribe started to move out into the Great Ocean. Long before that, they were just stuck up in the north. So, the message I'm trying to send them, riding on a Balangay boat. I rushed up to build a boat because all my boats, except the one I donated to the National Museum and to Butuban, hindi din tumatagal yung kahoy kasi nabubulok. So I rushed up to build a boat. And I built it February. By end of May, natapos din. I was rushing it because summer na eh. Matatapos ng summer. Pagkatapos, pag June, tagbulan na, malaking alon. I have enough big waves. So, when the boat jumped into the water along the mighty Agusan River, alam mo normally a boat, kailangan niya may ceremonial launching and may trial run. Itong Balangay boat na nag-sail, I name it after Florentino Das, the greatest Filipino seafarer. Nang nilans ko yan, none of those, walang ceremonial launching, walang champagne, you ram into the boat, nor a trial run. Sabi ko, di bali na, we will just repair it along the way. So, we just went straight. No skipper will ever do that without a trial run. But we are mountaineers and we are adventurous. So, along the way, we just sailed and did repair. But I was confident, sabi ko, di bali na, pag talaga masira kami along the way, isadsad ko lang yun sa mga reef doon, parang labas niya yung nandun yung sa Sierra Madre, nandun sa Ayungin Shoal, pariyo na kami. And then by that time, siguro darating na yung Coast Guard. But luckily, everything went smoothly, just like any one of those experiences that we have. So ito ang aming ruta, if you have to look at it. We came from Butuan, we sailed towards tip of Palawan, cross ka dyan sa Limanampon, and then balik dito, and then we cross it. This pala. I was really planning to pass Mischief Reef, yung area na yun, Ayungin. I was warned not to go there. Because sabi ko, I was able to sneak in around. Nobody knows we're going. We're coming. That's why the Chinese don't know how to deal with us. Except, dalawang aeroplano na umiikot sa amin trying to identify us. But of course, they don't know who we were. As a matter of fact, our Coast Guard and Navy would not even allow us in Pag-asa Island until I raised this flag. I showed them the flag. We're Filipinos. I talked to them, and then they allowed us to enter. So this is how Pag-asa Island looks like. It is desolate because yung anong bagyo yung last time na ubos lahat yung mga puno nila. And then we did planting. Tree planting kami doon as usual. Yung mga mangroves doon. With the Marines and the Navy and the Coast Guard. So this Pag-asa Island. And of course, they're trying to improve the airport and the seaport. Kaya may mga heavy equipments doon because we really have to develop in order to fortify our claims. Of course, we have the Ancestral Award and the UNCLOS, but in the end. At the background dito, nandiyan lang yung mga Chinese mga Chinese Coast Guard. Ito lang, pasok ka dito sa itong body of water lang dito, may daan ng maliit yan. So, we keep on raising our flag. Actually, just to show and defy them that this place is ours. And of course, embedded yung ABS-CBN, and we have a good broadcast report about what we've been doing. And of course, all over the news all over. These are the pintados, the Visayan pintados, mga ancestors ko siguro ito. They're the most feared. Actually, before, they're the most feared. We just simply raided everywhere. That's why even when the Spaniards came in, they put up those watchtower because the people from the south just go here and mag-rampage lang yan. But what's the whole exercise I'm trying to do? I go back to what Rizal said in one of his essays about yung Pilipinas dentro 100 años or century. He said, perhaps the people will revive their maritime attitude and commercial activities, which the islanders have a natural aptitude, and free once more like the bird that leaves the cage, like the flower that comes to the open air. They will discover the good old qualities which they are losing little by little, and again become lovers of peace, gay life, hospitable, and fearless. I think only when we can restore back our maritime consciousness, we as a maritime people, we are not land-based people that our colonialists try to teach us, which really erases that consciousness. Only when we go back to the roots, and our real work lies on those maritime domain. If you go out there and see the vastness of our waters, what a wealth that we should really tap for our country. Those are the resources that we have to bring our people shared and would understand. But somehow our policies are directed towards that. We focus everything in places like Metro Manila that we can hardly move here. But you go out and see the vastness of our waters. The Philippines as an archipelagic state, we're more water than land. And our real wealth lies in our maritime domain. That's what Rizal is trying to tell us. We wrote more than a century ago. So that this kind of values that we're talking about, our own experience as a Balangay crew, as we sail around, as we go and meet with young people over, we can pass this to future generation, the proud heritage of our forefathers, in order to inculcate to them the depth sense of patriotism and love of the country. And then say, indeed, kaya ng Pinoy. Maraming salamat po.
Maraming salamat din po sa napakagandang topic. Hindi na po siya inspiring. Medyo nakakainggit din po siya kasi almost sir, parang na-relieve niyo po yung inyong pangarap i-navigate yung not only our culture pero pati po yung iba't ibang parte po ng Pilipinas at ng mundo. Now we're going to open our floors at po mga questions from our panelists and our attendees. Alam ko po na madami po sa ating mga sa inyo ang may interest at nakabuo ng mga kuro-kuro at mga questions sa ating utak. So we're now going to open our floor to your questions. Yes, Sir Ruben.
Hello.
Hello, yes.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear.
Okay, Mr. Valdez, congratulations. Ang interest ko po dalawa. Una po, ano nag-inspire sa inyo na sumama doon sa team na umakyat sa Mount Everest?
Well, Mr. Villarreal.
Villarreal.
You know why? I was working in the government. Napagod na rin ako. I said, ano bang magagawa ko dito? And there's not much. You're up against a system that is so entrenched, you can only do so much. So finally I said, I'd like to do something where I can capture the imagination of our people. I'd like to do and work on a symbol. Kaya yung difference para maintindihan, ang Everest sa akin is only a symbol. A symbol of what the Filipinos can accomplish if they work as a people. So I use that symbolism. Parang Everest, the summit, is not the end. The message is the beginning, my message, that will continue to inspire. Parang the journey is the message. Ang Everest is simply symbol that is seemingly impossible. But once Filipinos work together, and we're proving that, we were a team. Finally, I started with a pool of 23, but because of practice of selection, you would be the most good-looking, strongest of them all. But my standard was the 3 C's. What's the first C? Capability. What is that? Physical capability and psychological capability. Baka may diferensya ng konti. Dangerous. Pangalawa, commitment. 3 years of your lives, you have to be with the team. If you're working, mag-leave ka or mag-resign. But this is a life and death struggle. I want total commitment. And the third, compatibility. The capability to work as a team. So I said earlier, you might be the most good-looking, the strongest, the toughest, but if you cannot work with a team, no way. You will endanger all of that. So I used that to recruit the people. Down to 9. 9 kami. At that time, I had to make a decision. Sino maging summiter? Sino maiwan? Nobody questioned the decision because ang structure ng Everest expedition, we trained in India. Yung sa kanilang mga climbing school. Ang tinuro doon yung expedition leader, ang structure niyan, ang expedition leader parang commander yan, commander-in-chief. His word is the law in the high mountain. So doon na kami. Finally, I have to make decisions. Of course, I know, I have an idea kung sino maging summiter. But katulad ni Noel, the first woman to climb Everest, Noel Vincent, palaging tinatamaan ng sakit yan eh. So finally, tinamaan ng sakit sa North Col, rush up ako doon, and then bring her down, hanggang 16,000 para mag-recover. And then made a decision, you cannot climb.
Again, congratulations sa inyong very good accomplishment. And second point po, what inspired you to organize the Team Balangay, which I think is a very good team?
You know, Mr. Villarreal, as I told you, I need a symbol. My message is that kaya ng Pinoy. If we work as a people, if we work as a team, kaya natin anything. What is the seemingly impossible becomes achievable. We're not even sailor. But alam ko, nasa DNA natin yung seafaring. So along the way, I said, di bali, matuto na tayo. As a matter of fact, paglabas namin dyan sa Cultural Center, palabas pa lang kami, may bagyo. May bagyo na yung, forget the name, signal number 2. So tago kami doon sa Ternate. But then I said, we learned along the way. What prompted me, I need a symbol because parang reality TV yan eh. In order to stir and inspire the young, my message is really to the young. Because, you know, just like me, I cannot live forever. I have to pass it to the young. So what prompted me is that I need a symbol that is supposed to be impossible, seemingly impossible, in order to show to the young, kaya ng Pinoy kung kayo magsama-sama.
Isa pong malaking karangalan, kayo ay nakilala ko kahit sa Zoom. God bless you po. Thank you very much.
Maraming salamat po.
Ako, Sir Art, maraming salamat po sa inyo pong mga sagot. At tatandaan ko po yung balitang yan nung nagkaroon nga po ng expedition sa Mount Everest. Tanda ko po nun, Sir, nagdiriwang po talaga lahat ng istasyon ng TV. Ayan po ang laman. As in, doon po ako nakaramdam ng talagang definition po ng Pinoy proud. Hindi lang sa boxing, hindi lang sa karaoke, sa singing. Ito talaga, Sir, talagang naabot niyo yung rulok ng, ito Pinoy kami. Kaya namin itong gawin globally.
Kaya Mark, yun ang ibig sabihin yung because may mga sa social critic na itong hindi naman mention, it is ang nagawa, quiet lang, simple lang, ganito, mabato. Ako hindi pwede quiet lang. I have to tap the broadcast media because I have a message. I have to message to tell. I have to talk to the people. As a matter of fact, while we're on our way up, I asked the church, please pray for us. And I know that our country was praying for our safety. Kaya nga, so I need the social media, I need the media, I need the people's support, I need national engagement because I was there to send a message. Without that, of course, nanalo nga yung aming handler, nanalo nga ng Grand Unveil. Pag Grand Unveil ka, pinakasiga ka for the year as a media practitioner. But that was the purpose. So hindi pwede tayo, we didn't climb because of vanity. We were climbing because, as I said, we have a message to tell. We live together, we climb together, and we support together as a people, as a team, to show to the whole world. Actually, kami pinakasikat ng panahon noon. Sa totoo lang, pinakasiga kami sa Mount Everest sa base camp. You know why? Because everyone gets sick. And we have a doctor. Yung mga expedition, walang doktor. And we have a doctor and everybody comes to us and we treat them for free. Yeah. Maraming salamat, Mark.
Share lang po natin sa ating mga audience ngayon. Sir, yung napag-usapan natin hindi pa po tayo nag-start ng program. Sir, ano po yung difference po ng inyong expedition doon po sa recent na nangyari na meron po tayong kababayan na namatay sa Mount Everest? Okay. So sa palagay niyo po, Sir, ano po yung kaibahan noon at yung sa inyo po, Sir, walang casualty. Pero lately po, itong sa atin po ngayon, meron po tayong casualty for 2025.
You know, yung ganong klaseng venture, may risk yan eh. Pwede may casualty kami. Pwede din mangyari sa amin yan eh. But that's the big difference is that the earlier Mount Everest Quest national expedition yan eh. National prestige yan eh. Mga each country, lalo na mga Europeans, they'd like to be the first. Of course, the British ng panahon nun because silang dominant, powerful country at that time eh. The first half of the century, hanggang the first half of the century. But it is a national expedition. So, ang recent ngayon, nakita, nagawa na yung mga ruta lahat-lahat, nakita ng mga enterprising Mount Everest climber, mostly mga foreigner partners with local Sherpa na magaling din, that they can make money out of that. From the national expedition, naging dominant yung commercial expedition. It's like tour guiding around Metro Manila. Bayad ka, pagkatapos they'll bring you around. Now, ang Mount Everest, yung commercial climb, halimbawa niyan, ako, nakakuha ko ng permit, I paid $10,000. Noon, ang permit from Nepal, isang expedition, 10,000 eh. Then I will announce 4 people can join us. So, pasok si Mark, pasok si Mr. Villarreal, pasok si Mr. Tory, si Bill, they join us because they want to climb. But you come from different places. Isa Amerikano, isa Japanese, isang Pilipino. Wala kayong commonality na you train together. Kalagay lang doon, makiat ako, na-train ako dito. So, in a certain way, they are not, hindi mo alam kung talagang matatag na season climber sila. But because bumayad siya ng $50,000, $200,000, depending sa comfort mo, kung tinamaan ka ng acute mountaineering sickness, ang gusto pa umakyat, yung leader ng expedition yan, talagang for business, cannot really stop you. Pumabayad naman ako. Why should you stop me? So, ganoon ang nangyari. Ang commercial expedition, in a certain way, it is like tour guiding packet ng Mount Everest. Ang mga climbers hindi na ganun ka, you don't know so much about them. Unlike yung ginawa namin. We trained for 2 years. From a pool 23 down to 9. And from there, merong expedition leader, merong weatherman, merong doctor. Actually, before I decide who will climb and how to climb, I will ask the doctor, ano ba, are they fit to climb? Yes, sir. Of course, may sakit yan, but generally kaya. Then I ask my weatherman, kamusta ang weather report? Yung weatherman ko based in NASA. So I know on every level, 15,000, 18,000, 20,000, 26,000 to the summit. I know the wind speed, I know the wind direction, I know the volume of snow, I know the temperature, I have the tools. In short, I use science at my disposal. That's why. Umakyat kami, gumawa pa kami ng world record. Ganun, Mark.
Yes, sir. So, sir, thank you po sa paglilinaw para po yung mga nakakapanood ngayon na may balak na pumunta ng Mount Everest o kung ano mang bundok, hindi po siya basta-basta dapat gawin dahil gusto lang natin. So, kailangan po siyang gawin na may tamang pag-iingat at based po sa science, sabi po ni Sir Art.
I think, Mark, our congratulations to the 3 who made the summit and our deepest sorrow and condolence for those who perished. But we salute them because they have the passion and dream to do the seemingly impossible. It did not take anything from them. It did not take anything from them. They wanted to reach their own dreams and to make a reality. But that's how it is. It has all risk. Parang nag-sailing ako, may risk din yan eh. It could have happened to us.
Yes, sir.
But, we have to dream and must be willing to pay the price. And on that note, that's what happened. But unfortunate and our deepest sorrow for them. Yeah.
Yes, sir. So, sir, meron na po ako dito dalawang bagay na babasahin sa ating chat box and then we will go to Sir Ike. Let's start with academician Rodora. Very informative and inspiring po. And then, meron po siya itong request. Pwede daw po bang makahingi po ng slides na gagamitin daw po niya with proper citation.
Yes, we'll send you one. Padalang kita. I will send to you itong mga slide namin para it's okay, it's open for us. Anyway, the more our people will see this, then the more we'll learn and understand why we did it.
So, i-connect ko lang po kayo, Sir Art, saka kay Ma'am Rodora through email po. I-ano ko lang po sa thread para doon na lang po kayo mag-communicate. And galing naman po kay Ephraim ng MSU So congratulations, Yusek Valdez. Very inspiring. Makes me feel very proud being Filipino, especially the seafarer Filipino. We are masters of the sea and oceans before and will always be. So this should be communicated as shown in major Philippine broadcast media and social media always. This should be taught in DepEd and universities. And ito po, pahabol po ni Academician Ruben. Congratulations on your breathtaking adventure. My pleasure and honor interacting with you kahit sa Zoom lamang. Academician Ruben Villaria.
Hello, may time pa ba tayo?
Meron pa po. Now, Sir Bill, let's go first with Sir Ike.
No, I will give way to Dr. Torres. Siya muna.
Sige po.
Okay, maraming salamat. Idagdag ko yung aking pagpuri sa accomplishment ni Art at saka yung grupo niya. No? Ang akin, let me start by asking the question which I usually ask many people, young people, when I given a chance to talk. What is more important to you? Knowledge or imagination? So I asked that question at the beginning of my talk. At the end of my talk, I will ask the same question. And you will see that the result will be, to them, knowledge is more important than imagination. But after my talk, many of them change. Imagination is is more important than. And I believe the message to me of this story of Mr. Valdez is really the imagination, the role of imagination that played into his journey. I will just limit myself to the journey in the Philippines, no? Starting with the Balangay. I think you must have imagined the impossible thing that you were trying to achieve, right? There was no boat, there were no people, maybe there was no money, not enough money, and so on. And so you had to imagine. And part of that imagination is to bring other people to make that imagination even more forceful. And that is the lesson I believe I draw for myself on an example like what you have done. Imagination is more important than knowledge. Knowledge will come because you had the imagination to generate that knowledge. And therefore, remember the organization that is sponsoring this talk is Future Earth. I believe one of the things we must do now is really to imagine how the Philippines will look like 2040, 2050. Because sometimes we fail. But then it's not enough. It's not enough. We must generate the knowledge, the skills, the resources, so that that imagination can be realized. Okay? So, in fact, let me end by saying there is really a methodology or there is an approach to being able to accomplish something that seems impossible. I think the first, this comes from a book that just came up. I knew about it lately. There are 4 steps. The first one is you must understand the goal. And this is known as the wildly important goals. The people who work as a team or as a group must understand what is the goal. Everybody has a goal in his own mind, but together we must have a goal. The next thing is your strategy, the thing that you must do in order to reach that goal. And that takes some doing, and that is where maybe the science comes in. We have learned some things from other experiences, from what not only ours but others, and then we come up with a strategy so that we can reach that goal. But there are two more points. The first point is you must have a scoreboard. In other words, you don't look at what you have accomplished or what you have done. You look at what you still have not done. And that is to be posted on a scoreboard so that everybody will see that you're still moving forward towards your goal. And maybe the last is really accountability. You know, there are risks, there are participative requirements from people who are part of that journey. Unless they will take on the responsibility and be accountable for it, the mission cannot be achieved. So that's the lesson that I'm drawing from the example. And I go with the suggestion that perhaps we should have a video of this presentation, maybe a shortened version of it, and then maybe tell the story repeatedly to many young people so that they will dream and they will fire up their imagination so that together we can achieve our dreams. Thank you.
Salamat po, Sir Bill. So talagang importante po yung sinabi niyo po na yung imagination po ang siyang mag-fuel na magkaroon ng better knowledge. Now, let's go po kay Sir Ike. Sir Ike?
Hello, Idol Art. Meron akong dalawang tanong.
Sabi ko na nga, ikaw yun eh. Tinitinan mo pa nga. Go ahead, Ike.
Una, mayroong lumabas na recent study, I think from Ateneo, na yung boat building tradition sa Asia might have originated in the Philippines earlier than thought of, no? That's my first question. Can you comment on that? My second question, can you comment on my theory or speculation na the great pause of 1,000 years might have happened in Mindanao, and it might have been centered in Butuan. And from there, naglayag ulit sila, yung mga Austronesians. Pero marami silang iniwan sa Butuan. In fact, that's my third question pala. Can you comment? Kasi yung research ni Father Josilo Amalia, nalaman niya na yung kahoy na ginamit sa mga balanghay na natagpuan sa Butuan, yung mga species na sa Butuan pa. So it supports the theory na it might have been built in Butuan, and Butuan might have been the origin, not the destination of the balanghay. That is why nung nagkaroon ng dilubyo, maraming natabunan kasi yun ang origin ng mga balanghay. Thank you, Dato Itong.
Well, sige, ay sinabi, yung si Benwood at si Solheim, they all agreed na ang center ng migration Pilipinas. Because you look at the map, we're at the center eh. There's no other way. As a sailor, you get closer to the nearest island. So, of course, yun, tayo naging center, cradle of this grand migration of the Austronesians. So, naging stopover tayo dito. Now, yung experience ko lang sa sailing, alam mo, when you are somewhere, depende ang hangin kung saan ka talaga, lalo na kung galing ka Pacific o galing ka dito, dumadaan ka dito sa Visayas. Ang hangin will bring you to Butuan. Doon kadali ng hangin eh. Doon kadali ng hangin sa Butuan. And that's the experience that we have. Twice ako dumaan dyan eh. So sabi ko talagang posible yung even the foreign ships that passes by ended up in Butuan. Now, yung mga nahukay dyan showed exactly the age. why we don't see that much from other places? Why only Butuan? So it showed that Butuan is a thriving kingdom for thousands of years. It's a thriving kingdom. Later na lang yun when trading was really so rampant and progressive na ultimately the Sulu area becomes the center of trade, and also slowly na yung Butuan diminish yung kanyang mga stature. But ancient times, I would say that Butuan was really the center. And ang mga kahoy, kahit yung mga boat na ginawa ko, yung indigenous yung sa Caraga region. I think very last pa yung forest noon eh. Last pa ng, you don't even have to go to Surigao. All you have to do dyan sa Agusan, you have the kind of wood that until now, as a matter of fact, if I have to build another boat, I'll still go to Butuan. You know why? Ang daming mga confiscated lumber yung DNR eh. That's how I get my wood. I got it from DNR because ang dami lang mga confiscated na mga kahoy that I used to build the boat. So it's still there. Now, I would just say that Butuan has been the site of an ancient kingdom. Because hindi natin makita yung, sana may mga relics. Meron doon sabi na doon sa Sulusi, sa ilalim, malapit sa Sulu. But hindi pa nahukay. But definitely, I think the one in Butuan was much earlier. I hope I answered your question.
My second question, yung Great Pause.
Yung second question about, pakiulit nga, yung second question mo, yung...
Sabi mo nga, baka nag-settle nga sila bago lumayag ulit, no?
Mm-hmm.
And there is a theory na 1,000 years yun bago sila lumayag ulit. And they might have spent that time in Mindanao.
Oh. I think I definitely, because yung design yung attitude ko eh. Sabi ko na, where the place is hospitable, generous, and friendly, I stay. I may stay there for matagal na matagal, yung mga forefathers natin. But when they found out ultimately na medyo, halimbawa, may mga local dyan na medyo naging hostile na, or even the food becomes a little bit harder to catch, they move on. So the same thing with me, where the place is hospitable, we stay there for a little while and enjoy the place. But afterwards, we just sailed and move on. The same yun. I don't think it's different from the kind of experience that we have. Although sila, they stayed by years or even by decades. Ganun ang nangyari yan. And I told you, yung where the wind will bring us, yung talagang will end up somewhere there near the mouth of Agusan River. So, I don't know why. But that's how it is. The wind direction and for my ganun nangyari. Of course, Mindoro, meron din yan. But I think Butuan is much older.
Can I add another comment? It's been established kasi that the Tausug came from Butuan. Nagkaroon ng Great Migration yan eh. So, yung alam mo yung mga Sama, Bajau, they're related to the Tausug. No? Baka sub-tribe pa nga yan. So, they might have brought with them the boat building tradition. Oo. Kasi nung umalis sila sa Butuan, ano ba naman ang sinakyan ng mga yan? Kundi malangay din. Can you comment on that?
I think I can look into yung sa language. Maraming language similar. Yung
yes, I know.
Pati rin yung mga Sama. Maraming similar dun sa mga language ng Butuan. So, that's one way of showing the kind of movement and migration of people. As a matter of fact, the same thing with the Bisayan, mga Ilonggo. Yung Tausug, maraming mga words sa Tausug and also with the people from Panay. Of course, ang National Museum and Historical said that yung the 10 Bornean datos, it's not true. But whatever it is, when I was talking with Normie Suare, somewhat mag-intindihan kami. Hindi ko naman pick up lahat yung mga tausog na salita niya. But marami ko pick up. Ang sabi nila, alam mo yung mga, of course, ito. Sabi niya, yung mga Ilonggo, talagang matatapang. Kasi yung kalaban nila doon Marines, mga Ilonggo sa Sulu. Sabi ko, in a certain way, I think our bloodline is even closer. Sabi ko sa mga tausog. But you look into the language and the dialect, Cebuto, yun. Maraming mga salita na similar as in Butuan.
Siki Alima.
Siki
Alima.
Yes. That's one way. I think when the kingdom started to decline, people started to move. And also, nandyan na yun yung primacy ng China. When the Chinese started to go out in the big ocean, then they started to trade. And ang Butuan medyo malayo eh. You have still to get inside dito sa northern Mindanao. Yung Sulu, daanan lang talaga yan. Daanan lang yung sa South China Sea. So that is where the trade has started to prosper and Sulu that finally it becomes the center ng Sultanate of Sulu. But originally, I would say that they come from these areas, even in earlier times.
Ako po, Sir Art. Sir Art, maraming salamat. Nagkaroon po ako ng parang extra credit and course sa history and people migration. Now, let's go po sa ating pong last question kay Sir Cesar.
Art, magdadala naman ako ng sariling bangko ko ha. I'd like to tell the group that I helped Art in the Balangay.
He was there in the beginning. Sila yung land-based support in 2009.
I could just see Art because I was still working and Mr. Oscar Lopez was providing the funds and all. But in the Balangay, when I took early retirement, I got involved. Now, there are three things I want to say. I experienced both the decisive leadership and humility of Art. Humility because as expedition for Mount Everest, he could have gone to the top, but he let others, he let others go to the top, and he was there as a commander-in-chief. You're not nga naman in the front lines, but he could have insisted on going to the top. Decisive leadership, while sabihin mo, Balangay, maliit lang yan, parang kuting lang yan, it was not easy building that. And there were problematic times also. So I saw that. And yun nga, nung tinapo na yung Balangay from the cultural center, sabi ko nga sa misis ko, Mami, parang 10 seconds, my balls went here. Kasi nag-left yung Balangay. Sabi ni Art, Balangay submarine. Then, very much to the left, then to the right, then nag-settle down na. Okay? So that's my first point. I saw the decisive leadership and humility part. Number two, Art, you will live up to 100 because of your lifestyle. Can you tell the group, we've discussed this now, can you tell the group your next project? I have 3 points, but this is a second point.
But let me go back yung sa leadership because I cannot be a climber and a leader at the same time. Because kung umakyat din ako, paano yung the rest of my team? We will all fight for our survival. But as a leader, I'm clear with my mind. Teamwork naman yan Alam mo ang Everest expedition, there are 9 of us. All I need is one at the summit. Successful na yung expedition That is how an expedition is really ang nature ng expedition. Kahit isa lang nakaakyat, successful na. Ang importante yung merong conductor that will be there in a stable, steady, and all of that. That in any case of emergency, that also make a decision. But sa totoo lang, I was not really worried bakit na umakyat kami. Kasi ginagamot namin lahat. At yung mga pinakasiga na Sherpa, pupunta sa tent namin, sabi nila sa akin, don't worry, Sir Art, we're there on the mountain, we'll take care of your climbers. Leo tried to climb Everest without an oxygen. Sobrang lakas ng mga climbers. Leo, from country to comfort, you know, the latest fatality, hindi nagang comfort lang. Then, Sherpa called up, Sir, si Leo, mahina, naiwanan ni Pastor, hindi ko magamit ng oxygen. That is coming from other Sherpa organization. Kaya ng panahon, I know what's happening in the mountain because I have the network of Sherpas that is supporting us. Of course, bago yan, gusto ko lang sabihin sa inyo, yung pwede natin ipagmayabang talaga eh. Yung si Pastor, kasi yung, bakit hindi magkasabay? Yung mga foreigners sabi nila, so they will hold hands together so that there will be no big debate who is the summit first. Yun ang sinasabi nila. They will hold hands together para walang debate. No, sabi ko, no. We will make a decision based on our Asian culture who will go up first. Ang ginawa ko, I don't like to send them together because there's only one attempt. I have to send them one after the other so that I have 2 attempts. Kung hindi makakuha ni Leo, Pastor nandyan pa. And Pastor was the one who volunteered. Sir, paunahin mo na si Leo. Pero may mangyari sa kanya, I'll carry all the flag. Kasi bit-bit namin every time ang flag eh. But when Pastor climbed it, you know, yung 26,000 to 29 takes about 12 hours eh, to go up. One way. Yung anak ni Tensing Norgay ng 2003, umakyat yan. Sabi niya, after the most grueling hours of my life, 12 hours, umabot sa summit. Started at 9 in the morning, 12 hours after, 9 o'clock na siya, ganon. Alam mo si Pastor nang umakyat yan, yung second climber, Pastor Imata of Davao, he made it in 13 hours and a half. So you think, mabagal. Except yung 13 hours and a half round trip. Can you imagine that? Why can you not be proud? Isipin mo round trip, 13 hours and a half, yung one way, 12 hours eh. Ginawa niyang 13 hours and a half round trip. So just add to that na talagang yun, proud na proud ako talaga. Yung ating Filipinos, you can really be proud of them once you make it clear exactly kung ano yung goal natin and buong-buo tayo. Sir, you were asking, kalimutan ko na, ano ba yun, sir?
Yung next project mo.
Well, anyway, I'll tell you, wala nang kahoy. And dito, I'd like to get involved the young. So, it is environmental. I'd like to build a boat made of recycled plastic coming from solid waste, balangay. Para sunod-sunod na yan, pag nagawa namin yan, yun na. Yung mga coastal communities, they can build their own little balangays pang mga kailang district. So it is made of solid plastic. But I have to test it. I talked to the president of UP, he's going to help me that the material will be able strong enough. Kailangan ko din the OST. I give it 3 years work to build this boat because it's gonna be a big boat. Because you know why? If I can build that, I'm gonna cross the Pacific. The balangay will cross the Pacific and show to the whole world. We've been into these places for thousands of years, just like you. So with that, can you imagine, yung mga galyon, ganun ba yun? 22, 24 meters with primitive tools, they were able to sail around the world. Itong gawin ko, medyo may mga bagong equipments na yan, so kaya niya magtawid. But it is a recycled plastic from the solid waste. And the first islands na bisitahan ko, yung magdi-disappear na in the Pacific. Because 10 years from now, they will disappear. And I'd like to be there when those islands are still there. God willing, I can do this. Malakas pa ako at may energy pa. And then I can find people that will share and help me build the boat.
Okay. My third and last point is for Doc Luli and for Mark, for every Friday talk, we have something like 10 minutes na set video. All the experts speak out. May I suggest that from what Art presented, magdagdag kayo ng 2 minutes from that. So idagdag ng 2 minutes because I think magandang magandang sipa for all those who watch Future Earth Talks in the future. So 2-3 minutes.
It's a video, introductory video.
Yes. So,
okay. Maganda nga.
Magandang sipa yon. Thank you,
I
Art.
agree.
Sige, thank you.
Okay
So
po.
it's time. I was thinking of asking Risa to make another video, para a new video, para mabago na yung lumang video natin sa COVID. So ito ngayon, I'll ask her to consider ito, to include yung sa Balangay
Yes po.
expedition sa ating intro.
Opo.
Mm.
So,
I would like to give, Doc Luli, I'd like to give you, kita mo sa background, marami akong mga bangka
Oh,
dyan.
dami.
Bigyan ko yung Future Earth ng isang bangka.
that would be
Replica
nice,
of
sir.
the ancient
Great.
Balangay. No, dahil ko dyan because I give that on a special occasion to friends. So, meron kayong isang bangka na doon sa likod ko. Marami yan. Tingnan mo.
Oh,
Nakibili
dami.
lang yan.
That's
Fleet yan,
great.
Balangay.
Display din namin, display din namin doon yung libro nyo on Mount
Yeah.
Everest.
And then Balangay, I'll give you a book on my Balangay also.
Opo, sir. Nakita ko nga po yung book nyo, sir. Parang ang ganda eh. Parang gusto kong bumili kung saan man. So, sir, tulad to, linggo-linggo, sir, lagi pong kulang ang isa't kalahating oras para po talagang mag-discuss pa to the point na parang ayaw nga po namin itigil yung usapan kasi dami pa talagang question. But unfortunately, kailangan po natin tapusin ang ating programa. Masabi ko lang po, sir, napakaganda po ng inyong plataforma na inyong pong ginagawa. At importante po, sir, na sa ginagawa niyo pong to, sir, ipagpatuloy po at sa ating pong mga tagapanood at sa ating mga Pilipino, huwag po nating iwawala at kakalimutan kung sino tayo. Huwag po nating itatago at papatayin ang ating identity bilang isang Pilipino. Ipagpatuloy po natin ang pagtangkilik sa ating kultura para po sa mga next generation po ng mga Pilipino po. With that, let's enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Thank you.